Hi folks, this is Alan again with iCracked. Today we're going to talk about iPad 2 battery. The iPad 2 battery is a great advancement in electronics, but just like any battery, they do wear out after a while. The iPad 2 is almost 2 years old now, or a little over a year and a half old, and you may need to replace this. Obviously you have to remove the digitizer and the LCD to get to the battery location. The battery location is much like a 3G or 3GS iPhone battery if you've ever seen those. It lays flat in the unit and the logic board sits on top of it. There's no screws, only adhesive holding it down. We have these available in our shop and it's not a difficult repair once you get to them. You need to remove the dock connector and the logic board with the screws here, here, and there's a screw underneath there. The Wi-Fi antenna also needs to be removed. Once you have them removed, you take the battery and just very gently peel it up, set it to the side, install the new one, and reinstall the logic board, the dock connector, and the Wi-Fi antenna. The first thing you want to do is remove the Wi-Fi antenna screws, and there's 3 of those on the outer edge that hold it down. You want to try to keep your screws basically where you took them off, so you do not mix them up. Keeping your screws straight on any iProduct replacement is the key to having really good success. There's those 3 there. There's that one there. I can lift up the antenna. Next, we need to remove the dock connector with those 2 screws right there. As you may know, it's very delicate, so you want to be sure to be very careful with it. These are all held in with adhesive. This piece of tape here needs to be removed so you can remove it from the logic board. Very gently, very carefully, take a sharp knife to lift this up. Do not gouge or slip or push too hard, because you do not want to connect or do not want to cut any of the cables. Remove that tape, and as you can see, the connector already came off. This connector here, lift it off. And it's connected underneath here with adhesive. You want to very gently slide underneath to pry off to get the connector out. I'm going to go ahead and just pull that up right there. Now, as you may have guessed, this is also how you replace the Wi-Fi antenna. If you happen to damage it during a screen removal, you need to remove the dock connector to get underneath here to the connection underneath the logic board. As you can see, it's held together with tape that ties to the speaker connection here. Gently pry the speaker cable connection up and out. Always being gentle and always remembering how they go in. It's very easy to get these parts turned over and you don't remember exactly how it goes. Very gently, very carefully, pull that antenna off there. And now this is all disconnected from the logic board. The logic board is held in with a little connector here, a screw there that ties down to the battery, and 2 screws here. And you have 1 more cable up here that goes up to the audio jack and the camera. Take out the 2 screws. All these screws are Phillips screws, which is really nice. You very gently take your spudger tool and lift that little door or hinge up, just like that. Again, this cable is held on with adhesive, so you want to be careful to lift it up. Do not bend it, do not pry it. Never use metal or a knife, but you do want to gently get underneath it there so you can remove it from the logic board. Once you have it up, you very carefully lift it out. We have another connector here. You want to use a very thin edge to get that door up. As you can see, it pops right up, and then you can remove this cable. You want to lift it up from back here to get some slack in it. Very carefully. If you need to tug back and forth a little bit, you can. Now we've got all the cables disconnected. We've got one more screw that holds the logic board to the battery. When we remove it, and now the logic board is free from any connections. Take your spudger and very gently pry underneath. It's held on with some adhesive. And you do not want to bend it or warp it or put too much pressure on it in any one area. If you need to go around the entire logic board, you can. Very gently lift it. Very gently. You can hear the adhesive pop free. Lift the logic board out. So now we remove the logic board, the dock connector and everything, and as you can see the battery lays nice and flat. We just need to remove it and install the new one. Take your wedge and very gently get underneath the edge of the battery. They are all held on with adhesive strips, as you can see here, along both sides of the units. Gently get underneath there and pry up, never putting too much pressure on any one part. One hint that works well for me is to heat the adhesive up just like you did when you took the digitizer off. So we're going to do that now. You never want to pry too hard on anything, but you can bend these if you have to. Go ahead and get underneath this third one. Being careful not to damage this cable. And there we go. Gently remove them. Again, not to damage the cable. And take out the old battery. And there's that popular apple from the inside out. All right, now we've got our new battery. We take off the adhesive protection, set it aside to throw away. We definitely want to lift this up. We don't want it trapped underneath there. And we want to very carefully line this up because it has to sit just right over this screw connector, and it's got to line up correctly on the logic board. You can see the connections there. You want to make sure that you're getting a really good connection on that. So before you press it down, make sure it lines up really good along this edge and this edge, and you should be fine. So now we just reinstall the logic board. We definitely want to make sure we keep all our cables up and above. And we line our logic board up properly with the screw hole right there. All right, we're going to go ahead and put a few screws in place to keep it down. I'm going to take the two on top here, Get them in there nice and firm, but don't smash them down too hard. Let me go ahead and put the screw in for the battery connector itself. Again, you want to make sure there's a full connection there, or else the battery will not work. All right. Now we'll start connecting the cables. First, the connector that controls all the units over here. Just slide it in very carefully and very evenly. You want it to go in evenly across here. Take your little spudger and help push it in if you need to. And then you go ahead and slide the clip up and over and pop it into place. Make sure it's firmly all the way down. Go ahead and make sure your cable is in between the battery cells, nice and even. Now the audio camera connection, we slide it in underneath. You can see it's copper on top, and where it connects, it's black. You want this connection to go all the way in before you put the door down. Very gently, firmly, put it into place. And right there, it's all the way in. Keep a little bit of pressure right here with your finger, and go ahead and close that door down. All the way across. Lay it back down nice and flat. Now we want to go ahead and install our speaker connection. Nice and firmly. And next is our Wi-Fi antenna. You want to make sure your screws go in straight and all the way. You don't want anything sticking up here when you go to replace your digitizer, or it will damage it and it will break. Install that there, and then finally your 4th screw on your Wi-Fi antenna holds down right there. Now that you've got your Wi-Fi antenna in, I'm going to reinstall your dock connector. Just slips right in, and the 2 screws line up. As you notice, these 2 screws are angled, and they go right up against the bevel of the iPad, just like that. Once you get it screwed in, now you need to connect it back onto the logic board. It should just snap right into place. And again, make sure everything is flat and out of the way of your LCD and your digitizer. So now we have one more piece to put in. The little adapter that goes at the very bottom to hold the logic board in place. Just line it up in place. I'm going to show you here in a second. I'll lift it up for you so you can see it. When I get one on there, it's kind of hard to see around this bevel, but when I get one on there, we'll show you exactly what's going on. This piece here holds the bottom of the logic board in place, and you want to make sure it's lined up perfectly straight. So get one screw in, line it up with the screw hole with the end of your spudger tool. That's a great tip. Anytime you're lining up screws or little clips, you can use the pointy end of your spudger. Then go ahead and reinstall the 2nd screw. That concludes our battery installation. The next steps would be installing the LCD and the digitizer. Thanks again for watching. If you have any questions or want to make any purchases, check out our website at www.icracked.com. Thanks for watching.